Live. Hey, how's everybody doing today? We'll let Facebook have a minute to get this logarithm going and start getting you guys on. Once you get on, please shoot a comment. Again, we're using StreamYard, so take a minute and go to that link, streamyard.com/Facebook. Give them all your banking account information. Just kidding. Give them all of your Facebook acknowledgement or whatever, and you will be able to see who you are when you do actually comment. But definitely shoot a comment. Let us know you're there. Today's goal is just to kind of share a little bit of Eric's story. First of all, thanks for joining me today, Eric. We'll do a formal introduction here in a second. But the goal today is just to kind of share a little bit about what's been working for Eric and how he's been able to him and his wife, and I want to give her credit too, of course, how they've been able to kind of keep their business moving forward, even with all the Corona stuff going on, and still having a rocking couple of months here. And so I thought it'd be important to kind of share any secrets that he has with you guys, so that way you'll kind of know what's working, what's not working, and how he's being able to still keep the business moving forward. And hopefully Brett will join us. I know he was finishing up a call and he'll be able to join us as well. So let's get going. So guys, thanks for joining us today. Again, Coach David Huffman here with Closings on Demand. And definitely shoot us a comment. Let us know that you're live and well, Corona-free, unless it's the drink. Even then, it's a little early. Maybe that's not a good thing either. Let us know that you're live and well and where you're calling from. We've got Dan Hayes is there. He's saying woohoo and cheers. First of all, Eric, thank you very much for joining us, man. Are you excited, nervous, or you're like, what the heck did Huffman get me into?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Good. So again, today it's just a candid conversation. Just want to kind of get some information out of you as far as what you see is working. Let me pull up those stats again. Or why don't you just share with us? I asked Eric to kind of share with me, hey, what is it that you've been able to accomplish since March 1st? So give us the latest update so far as production during all this shutdown and pandemic stuff.
So when we first started talking about it, I believe it was 13 pending, or 14 pending and 6 closed. And now we've closed 3 of those as of today. So we're 9 closed and 11 pending.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's from March 1st. We have the 3 closings we've had have actually went under contract and closed since March 1st.
Yeah, and you took a couple listings.
Yes.
How many of those did you take?
I believe it's 4.
Yeah, and I think you got all those sold too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you've gotten, but you've had some fall out.
So interesting story on that. We had one. So a couple that we knew basically have a house that needs to be renovated. It's a full flip. It's a gut job. And so when they came to us about it, we immediately reached out to some investors we knew, and we actually put it under contract before all this really went down. And once it hit, when they were starting to talk about the safer at home, the stay at home stuff, the investors got pretty nervous. And even though we kept telling them hey, this will shake out, and we kept telling them the numbers, hey, at the end of the day, we have a housing shortage. When this is all over with, we'll still have a housing shortage. It's going to take you 3 months at least to flip this house. So the market's going to be strong. They still wanted to back out. So they backed out of it. So we turned around and put the home on the market and listed it for more than we had it under contract the first time, and actually got 8 offers in 24 hours. Yeah, it was crazy. It had 14 showings the second day it was on the market. So we did highest and best, and that will close at the end of the month.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was actually pretty interesting to watch the activity. So I feel bad that our investors didn't listen, but at the same time, they felt pretty strongly that it was not a good decision for them, and we kind of left it at that.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back a little bit and kind of explain how we know each other. So tell me what year it was, because I kind of forget. Was it 15 or 14?
Yeah, something like that. I'd have to go back and figure it out.
Yeah, it was like 2014, 2015. I think it might have been 2015. I met Eric through coaching and stuff, and have been able to kind of follow his journey here over the last 4 or 5 years, which has been awesome. We're getting some feedback here, and so now you guys, of course, it's him and his wife, and you guys have an assistant, an awesome assistant.
We have a licensed assistant. Yeah.
Yeah, and but for the most part, you and your wife do all the production. Assistant handles the transaction side of it and the hard lifting per se. Yeah, or your wife does too, I guess. And then the other side of it is you guys have since grown, and you guys just opened up your own brokerage.
Yes, almost not quite a year ago now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we left a pretty decent sized firm and went out on our own. I'm the broker, and which looking back, not knowing that this was coming, has actually, I think, been a blessing because it's allowed us to be very flexible. I'm actually at my office right now, which is just a few minutes away from my house. But our office is small. It's big enough for the three of us. And we still show up every day. Where the office I was at, my understanding is they're completely closed. You're not allowed to go in there. So while I was prepared to make some moves if I had to, if we weren't going to be able to come to the office, we've managed to not have to go there. So yeah. So we still come to the office.
So let's dig into some of the things and some of the kind of objections that you've been experiencing through these transactions, so that way the agents that are listening can kind of learn. I think you came up, and I hate it when it doesn't happen naturally in live, but you came up with a really good statement, a really good question that I'm going to go ahead and prompt you with, and we can kind of start with that. And then I want to get into buyer specifics, like what are you doing to kind of keep the buyers moving forward and engaged in the process. And then we'll go into the seller side and find out kind of what are you doing to still keep sellers wanting to list and sell and get their properties sold. So I'll fire it up for you. This was your brilliance. I can't take credit for it. You came up with it, but I'll let you go with it.
So yeah, is their fear really legitimate? So I'm gonna be honest with you. When talking to somebody, if they say, hey, like I'm not comfortable, like maybe it's a seller, they said, hey, I want to sell my house. I'm not sure what the market's gonna do. And if in the conversation they're not comfortable with the idea of people coming in their home right now, first of all, to them that fear is legitimate. So that's not an objection that I would necessarily push too hard on. But I would go back to the stats and reassure them that the market is going to continue to be strong. And that, the sooner we can put the home on the market, the sooner they feel comfortable and we can put the home on the market, that's the time to do it. Not to wait horribly long. But I wouldn't press that button too hard, because if they're scared,
yeah,
that's what it is. They're scared. And they have to feel confident when it comes to their health and their safety.
Yeah. And I think with that is really just making them feel like they're really in control of the transaction. So whether it's from, a longer, inspection period, so that way maybe one day, they can touch the house, whatever. Obviously we're not trying to uproot everybody and have them close and move today, if possible, and kind of thinking through that. But I like that. And I want to make sure we're being clear. Is their fear really legitimate? We're not talking about is there fear of the coronavirus. We're talking about their fear of the market, the fear of the real estate transaction, the fear that maybe their house, like a buyer's fear that the house may be worth a lot less in a couple of months because the bottom is going to drop out of the market or something along those lines. So yeah.
So, and I think, honestly, I think there's two there. The fear of the market, we can handle that pretty easy. That one I address. Their fear of the coronavirus, though, I think is yeah. Like the minute, if they're worried about people, and to answer Dan's question, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. So our state actually has released two forms. One is an addendum to the contract that allows, if there's issues throughout the contract, that we automatically extend all our timelines on an agreed amount of time. And then another one is actually basically a release, a hold harmless. And, that one actually, I think, makes people a little more uncomfortable, but it is something you should talk about. And I think that's fair. But to answer the market question, that's where I think knowing your stats, your local stats, knowing your numbers, knowing how many homes are coming on the market, how many homes are selling. And the thing is unless you're in a market that's in complete lockdown, homes are still selling. And that was, I think it took us probably about 2 or 3 days to get over the, hey, what's going to happen concern, because all it took is for someone to say, hey, I'm ready to go look at a house. And we were like, hey, this is like, there's still people in the market. And I watched the numbers pretty much every day. In the last 24 hours, our MLS took on 75 new listings, but we have over 100 pending. So our inventory is shrinking faster than it can. So you're going to have a market crash in that circumstance. There's no way home values can go down when you have less inventory.
Creating more of a seller's market. Yeah.
We were already in a deep seller's market.
Yeah.
We had less than 2 months of inventory in Knox County. So
yeah. Very cool. And I think to bring out a little bit of what you just said, knowing your numbers, just understanding and really taking a look at your MLS and really painting that clear picture to people. It may be a reason why not to sell in some markets. It may be a reason why to sell or to buy in some markets, but giving them that raw data. But again, there's going to be a lot of myths that are out there. So I think what you're kind of saying is just understand those numbers and really getting down to the truth, the nuts and bolts of what's really going on in the market, and portraying that to them, so they have some raw, real data to be able to share with their prospects. With their
and I hate to say it, but I mean, I've already seen the articles out there saying like, hey, we're headed right back for 2008, and it's like, this is nothing like 2008. I was in real estate in 2008. This is not the same. We literally have a third of the inventory that we had in 2008. So it's huge difference.
So another question I have for you is, so let's talk about buyers specifically, right? So I'm sure out of those transactions you've had, handful or two of those were actually 2 handfuls of those should have been buyers. So how have you been able to keep buyers engaged and wanting to buy throughout this? Is there any kind of tips or tricks that you've had to use with some of the buyers to be able to keep them kind of trudging forward in the transaction?
Well, I mean, obviously, number one, we keep in front of them with properties so that they know that there are homes available. 2, we've had discussions about, and again, it comes back to their comfort level, but we're still doing in-person showings. We have we use personal protection. We have gloves. We provide gloves. We provide wipes. I've got the fancy mask, just like you had.
Yeah, where is that? I got the cool one. I got the the airplane one. So Listen got this from somebody, but yeah.
So while it's different, and it takes a little getting used to, we reassure them that we take measures to be safe. The homes we're walking into, if it's occupied, I'm noticing a lot of people are leaving, the sanitizing, sanitizer and wipes and stuff like that by the door. But just reassure them of the safety and tell them, like, at the end of the day, you're just going to go look at the home. You don't have to touch everything. But we tell them also that we've told this to both buyers and sellers. The people in the market right now are most likely the ones that have to do something. They're the serious people. They're the ones, I mean, we've had people move from Florida. They closed early on when this happened. They didn't have a choice. Like, their house was sold. They had to move into something. So, for the buyer side, especially when this first started, we've got a deal under contract right now where we've been showing this guy homes for over a year. Over a year, we've been working with this fella, and he would make an offer and get beat out. We made probably 4 or 5 offers with him. While we were on vacation, when this first started going down, we were in Florida. He went out and saw a house with our assistant and wrote an offer and got it. Like, that was right when things were starting to and people were really worried about what's going to happen. He managed to get a deal right then. So we're like, there's less competition at this very moment. On the seller side, we've had to tell them, hey, you're not going to get 40 showings like you might the other day, but the showings you do get are going to be serious showings. Yeah. And, out of that, I mean, the last 2 houses we put under contract, one of them, I think, only had 3 showings, and that house was listed at $460 and went under contract, which our average market price is $230. The other one was on the market 8 days, and I think it had 4 showings, and it went under contract. So those are pretty good odds. I mean,
yep.
If you know you're only going to show your house a handful of times and get it sold, that's better than being gone for a week while a million people trample through it.
Right. That's just like almost kind of like Christmas, right? Somebody's coming through Christmas or the week after, you're going to have less showings, but if you do get a showing, it's probably a pretty motivated buyer. So guys,
it really is no different. It hasn't been any different than that.
Yeah, but I like a couple of points here. And guys, be sure to post your comments and questions, that you have in the comments and that you have for Eric, and we'll definitely get that to him. A couple of things I just want to make mention. You said the sellers were keeping sanitizer at the very front door. I like that idea, right? Even maybe put it on the front of the doors, thinking to wash your hands before they even touch the doorknob, whatever. Having the sellers kind of engaged in that process. If you or your sellers can have any sort of gloves or mask there, just in case somebody doesn't come prepared with that, or the other agent doesn't have that for their clients, that might be something to be able to do. And just remember, I think everybody knows this now, but you don't have to have like an N95 mask to be able to protect yourselves. It's, that's really only used around the people that actually are infected. So any kind of protection is going to be, I think, justifiable. And then you had, what else did you say in there? There was one other piece and I just went blank.
The mask, the gloves.
I'll think about it.
And I'll add one thing. I've recommended people not bring their children.
There you go. Okay.
And I explained to them the reason, especially the smaller they are, the more likely they are to want to, we've all seen it. They want to touch everything. They slip off into the room and they play with the toys, which, we try to limit anyways, but at the end of the day, it happens. So it's just best that they don't bring little ones if at all possible.
That's a great point. Absolutely. No, I can definitely see that. So that's a fantastic point. And Chip says here, a friend in Toronto had 40 showings, 12 offers, sold $257,000 over list price. Sellers were thrilled. Yeah, I would say so. And again, I think Chip's in a $1 million market, $1 million+ dollar market there in Toronto. But that's awesome. Fantastic. I mean, and again, so anything else specific to buyers that you would kind of suggest that you're, right now, of course, in COD, and I think you still run this as well, where you always try to keep an appointment with all your A's, right? So how are you doing anything different to get them to either want to meet with you and discuss via phone or virtually, different than what you did before? Or are you kind of still just running your same systems, your same processes that you always have?
Pretty much everything's pretty much the same. I mean, that's, I feel like a lot of people make the mistake of changing gears because something externally happened. And while sometimes that's smart, in most cases, staying the course is the best way to go. I haven't necessarily changed my marketing any. I haven't, my message has changed a little bit, but the amount of stuff I put out and where I put it hasn't changed. Telling people, reassuring people of the market, I think is the best thing, especially for a buyer, because a buyer, they're the one taking on that, especially with the way prices are right now. They're the ones taking on that mortgage. They're the one taking on that price, and they feel like they're assuming that risk if the market goes down. So explaining to them, hey, even if the market were to shift, it would shift into more of a balanced market. It would take forever for it to shift into a buyer's market, and by then you'll have already seen X amount of appreciation. So it's not something to really worry about. So anyways, that's pretty much how we've been handling. I mean, I had that question yesterday. We were showing a condo, and they asked like, "Hey, what do you see with the market? Where's the market going?" So that's on everybody's mind. But if you don't know how to answer that question, then you're not going to be able to instill confidence in their decision making.
Yep, no, I agree. Yeah, stay the same course. So there's always, you're going to have the agents. They're going to come up with an excuse why they can't make phone calls, or they can't have meetings, or they can't whatever. And and I get in some cases that might be a little true. We can justify and rationalize things. I mean, look, you got Democrats, you got Republicans. I mean, you can there's 20 different ways to see what actually happened. But I think I would say the one of the biggest reasons for your success, even through all this, is because you are staying that same course. You're just kind of, again, we're agents. We're used to having hurdles. We're used to getting that phone call that the closing's not happening tomorrow. We're used to always having to overcome these, objections and hurdles and walls. And this is just another little one for that. But obviously, by still following the CDC, still doing your PPP stuff, but ultimately you're still working the same course. That process just doesn't change. It's always, once you have a process that works, and obviously with your success of the years, you have a process that works. It's just sticking to that. And once another hurdle comes, hey, how do we move forward to overcome it to get the result? Because again, the result is the only thing that matters.
I know there was a point where we were worried, that they were going to completely, lock us down. There was that moment, that thought of, hey, we're not on the essentials list, and which we were still. We confirmed that, but so obviously my mind went to okay, so if we can't go out, let's say we can't go out and show, then how do we overcome that? Like, there wasn't going to be a reason for me to sit at home and not do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not that kind of person anyways, but I'm always moving that ball forward. And I would have figured out a way to then. So Chip asked the question, are you stressing virtual showings first? Assume buyers are well vetted. So I have definitely offered virtual showings. I've done virtual showings in the past for people from California that worked well. I'll be honest with you, most of our clients, I guess, are just the touchy-feely kind. They want to see the house in person. So I've not actually done any virtual showings so far yet. They just want to see it with their own eyes. As far as assume buyers are well vetted, yeah, definitely. Don't want to be, and I don't necessarily, I'm not seeing a bunch of people who just want to go out and look at houses to look at houses right now. I mean, that'd be weird.
Yeah, it's good. So the phone calls you are getting that makes sense too. The phone calls you are getting are usually the ones that really truly have that motivating factor that's pushing them to, even through this, to want to continue down that path in some way, form, or fashion. I agree. So let's get into seller side and more seller specific stuff. You've listed 4 properties into active, and you sold a few, or sold those. But what, if any, objections at the time that you took that on the market that maybe you could kind of suggest on how you helped overcome that with the sellers?
So all of them are occupied. All 4 of those were occupied. The biggest concern to them was actually, are they going to sell? Like, is anybody buying? And that's, again, where coming back to the numbers and letting them know that we're going to market the property, that they're not going to get as many showings as they maybe expect, but inventory is low enough that somebody's going to buy. When I look at the ones, so 3 out of those 4 are also buyers. And I know this conversation came up in the group earlier. You know, hey, how do you get somebody to list with you who wants to buy but doesn't want to sell first? In 3 out of those 4 deals, we had their purchase under contract before we listed their house, even while this was going on. So we basically set up a 60-day close. We already had everything ready to put the home on the market. We negotiated a contingent offer with the understanding that it would go live in, I think 48 hours is what we normally do. And then once we get an agreed contract, we push the listing live and go from there. The longest listing on the market was the bigger one at 28 days. So it was on the market 28 days. The other ones were less than a week.
Yeah, that's good. Any advice that you're giving the seller specifically? We talked about already kind of some things that you had mentioned inside the property. Is there anything else that you can think of that you're, how are you overcoming, like, when they're kind of getting a little bit nervous that their house is going to sell, during all of this and with a move? So are you kind of negotiating those contracts a little bit differently or anything different with those?
Just given enough time. I mean, the deal's contingent on the sale of the house. Mm-hmm. I know on especially this last one, we pushed the inspection out far enough to give us time to get theirs sold. And it went under contract the day before the inspection. So, I mean, that was good. But at the end of the day, the inspection, if they're going to be out of pocket, $500 for the inspection and their house doesn't sell, that's not the end of the world. They're pretty much comfortable. I mean, we just have that conversation. But going back to, I don't walk in personally asking, well, hey, is this house going to sell? Terry Joe doesn't walk in going, hey, is this house going to sell? We know we're going to sell the house. And I think that's a big part of it. If we go in confident, we acknowledge their concerns, and we have that discussion, and then we feel confident about the process and that it's going to happen. They just follow that lead. Yep. And, our biggest thing throughout this is just more concern about their safety and well-being, as long as they're comfortable with the scenario. And again, it comes back to like, hey, after a showing, you may want to, wipe everything down, spray it with, some Lysol, put some, one house, we made people wear booties. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but it
can't hurt.
But again, the market's just been strong enough, now, I mean, again, if this was 2008 and this happened, probably wouldn't feel the same way. We would probably be writing 6-month contracts. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. Well, good, man. Well, I'm proud of you. Keep it going. Don't listen to everything you read on Facebook, and keep trudging forward and putting those pendings on the board and executing those contracts. Anything, and guys, if you have any quick questions, we're going to be wrapping up here. But if you have any questions here for Eric, definitely post in the comments really quick, and I will ask him. Eric, is there any other piece of advices or anything else that you'd like to kind of share with the community? And again, we're all in this kind of together. This is obviously uncharted territory for everybody for the most part. And so it's been interesting. The good news is I think we're starting to see a little light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully, maybe somewhere around the 1st of May. I know you're excited about, what are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do when I know you posted that on your Facebook. What's the first thing you're going to do once you're out of quarantine?
So I just recently took a trip to go. My mom lives about 2.5 hours away from here, and my brother's near her. And we took a trip up there, took some supplies and stuff for. It was really weird because we had to stay away from each other. Mm-hmm. Like, we hung out on our back patio for a little bit, but we didn't really go inside, and didn't get to hug her. So probably one of the first things I want to do is actually go see my family. I got to see my nieces through the window. That was crazy. Yeah, and it was hard. So that's probably one of the first things I'm going to do. Grab a hold of my daughter, grab a hold of my mom, squeeze everybody tight. But one thing I wanted to add, because in real estate is sales in real estate is such a mental game. I took a course a long time ago. David knows this. I'm a course junkie. But I took this course a long time ago, and the instructor said something to the effect of, never have I gone to the courthouse steps and they said no real estate sold today. He said there's always real estate happening, good market, bad market, coronavirus market, you name it. There's always real estate happening. He says your job is to get in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to get in the middle of it. Your job is to find the buyers and the sellers and be a part of that deal. And so that's just the way I've always looked at it, is like somebody we know is buying and selling.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to be in contact with them. They need to know we're here to help them.
And I think we're on the same mission. So I'll kind of go a little bit deeper with that. It's one thing to say that we want to get in the middle of them, but my ultimate passion is helping people, give them give those buyers and sellers a reason as to why they would want to do business with you.
Right.
That value proposition, especially in today's flooded market, is so important. In putting something out there as a reason why you do a better job than any other agent in your marketplace and why they would want to do business with you. Creating that value proposition is so important.
It is. You'd be surprised, whoever's watching this, be surprised if you just picked up the phone and you talk to some people that they're going to ask you if you're working. They just assume that you're home like everybody else, that real estate is not happening. Their thought process is that, realtors are taking a huge hit right now, and some are, but
they were already taking a hit.
I'm having the best year we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know different areas are experiencing different situations. If you can't get out and show property, if you can't, if you're in complete lockdown, it is what it is. There's something you can do though. But if you're still able to show property, then you need to let everybody know you're still able to show property.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep communicating. You protect yourself, obviously, and follow the guidelines. But at the same time, though, keep business moving forward as best as possible. And I think what we've said in a lot of the other trainings that we've been doing here the last almost month, it's like, be a human first, right? I mean, we understand that these are kind of weird times, but there is a lot of misinformation out there. And so just being that source of just bringing the information. I mean, if it really is not a good time to go see property because you're in quarantine and lockdown, whatever, or that client can't buy a house unless they can touch it, and you can't negotiate a longer term so they have an opportunity with protection in the contract to touch it before they actually sign for it, it's okay. I mean, that's all right. But go down that path, and see what you can do.
Well, the other thing is too, I'm getting a lot of website visitors, a lot of registrations where people from other areas, they're just looking right now. There's a lot of people looking online at real estate because they're home.
Right.
But again, so in communicating with them, if you're in California right now, you can't fly to Knoxville, nor should you right now.
Right.
So again, you acknowledge that, and I'll be honest with you. I tell them a slightly different thing than I tell everybody else. I say, hey, you know what? That's no problem. Number one, we'll be here when you're ready. Number two, there'll be more houses to see.
Yeah.
Like there will be more houses. What you're seeing right now is slim pickings because, of the situation, but there will be more, and we can help you with that. So it's not that's just, again, coming back to your raised hand in the marketplace. That's somebody who 3 months from now will be comfortable getting on a plane and flying and purchasing a house.
Yep. That's your bees, that's your bench, and that's your consistency, in your business. So we harp that a lot. So, hey, Eric, thank you very much for taking the time today. And guys, for those of you that are listening and watching, if you'd like to learn kind of a little bit more about our process and some ways for you to communicate better with your leads, and go to codmasterclass.com. It's the free training there that you guys can register for. And if I can be of any help, then reach out, let me know. And for those of you that aren't inside the Real Estate Sales Simplified Facebook group, then please go there if you want to get more of these. Right now, we're doing it a little bit more in different places, but ultimately, all of these will just be inside of that Facebook group. Again, that group's a little bit more regulated. We don't just share, stupid ideas from agents that sell 10 properties a year. It's more of a professional type of, I like to say that it's more of a professional type of Facebook group. But you'll run into people like Eric that are obviously still crushing it, even given the pandemic. But Real Estate Sales Simplified is that real estate group. And Eric, thanks again for joining.
Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. Bye for now, guys. Bye.